It is the morning of the finals and the final day of the Billabong Pro Tahiti as we just finished round 4, now into round 5 to make eliminations. Joe Turpel alongside former world champ Martin Potter. Potts, that round 4 was very exciting, especially that last heat. The rookie, Joan Duro, into the quarterfinals yet again this season.
Absolutely, yet again. I mean, the kid is on fire. He's found some groove. He loves these kind of waves. Big, solid, strong kid. And, you know, he's been knocking on the door for quite some time. And now he's got the foot in the door. Look out, because he's looking dangerous.
All goofy foot matchup to kick things off. Another big rookie on tour. Connor O'Leary is taking on a former world champion, Gabriel Medina. Medina with one of the best track records here in the last 3 seasons, competing at Chopo. Big or small, he understands this reef so well, and he's going to be hard to beat. Potts, especially with what happened in the round 4 heat, getting in the interference from Matt Wilkinson. He's going to be fired up to try to earn a quarterfinal spot later on today.
That he is. You know, when you look at the scoreline, I don't think he was going to get the score on that wave anyway, but it's Gabriel Medina. You never know, and that's why Matty Wilco made sure of that. He sort of focused on trying to take Medina out, and then obviously left to Kalohe at the back, and Kalohe made them pay, both of them. And
with Medina not in the lead, he could have been like, well, maybe I'll see what Wilco does with priority here, just to test him, to see if he'd hold him off. Now in round 5, with a chance to go to the final series yet again in his career. He's only had 1 year where he got knocked out in round 3. Other than that, we've seen quarters, semifinals, runner-up to Flores, and then his big win over Kelly Slater, and maybe one of the best years condition-wise we had back in 2014. Getting things started. They both took a look at a wave already, so it's Medina's turn. Deep on this one, and he comes flying out. There's the wrap to seal it. It was a tight space, and he was flying to get the completion.
Yeah, he was kind of in 2 minds having a look at that wave. And then finally the split-second decision to go. He really had to get a move on, though, to get through that end section. It kind of crumbled at the end, but Medina's so solid on his feet, isn't he, Joe?
It's impressive. When he came on tour as a rookie, his first wins just happened to be in beach breaks, but he's been even more consistent at the waves of consequence. As we have another look.
Yeah, that first pump really, and that's the thing with Medina, you know, it's that one turn that gives him so much speed. He's got so much spring in his step, that momentum that he got from that first turn that you can see just driving under the lip and getting that high line, going up and over the foam ball, fighting his way through. Big solid kid, and that was you know, a tricky wave to make, but Medina made it look easy.
Strider, as we know, Medina's got a huge reputation at this wave. How is his approach different than the world's best compared to goofies like Owen Wright, who does really well out here as well?
I feel like he's just really calculated. He's got a good understanding of what's going on. He's so good at reading waves. You know, he's been, obviously, like all these guys, he spent so much time in the water, but he's got a good knack for things that are coming, kind of knowing what's going to happen before it happens, and so he's got a good read on the water. You know, that said, things change so fast out here. It's crazy. Like this morning, we had crazy rain, couldn't even see the mountains, couldn't see up the point, could barely even see the tower. Now we've had the sun peek out, kind of a beautiful, bouncing off the reef, making it look, you know, really nice out here. And the winds have turned a little more east. This morning we had a pretty strong trade from the southeast, and now it's kind of swung around more east, so conditions have cleaned up a lot. I think tide bottoming out and everything getting back to where it should be for competition, and looking a lot better this morning.
Thank you, Strider Wazalewski, for the report from the channel once again. Well, we had a couple of moments in this heat. 6-4-3 for Medina. More waves on the way. Connor O'Leary, the rookie from Cronulla, with priority, and he's thinking about an answer here. Locking in on the takeoff, a tough section to beat. As you just see, all foam ball, no O'Leary coming through the inside corner. Priority right back to Gabriel Medina with 23 minutes on the clock, and you got to keep a close eye on Gabriel. If he wants to just keep on moving, he can just freestyle his way to multiple scores. He was world famous for being a rookie who would throw away sometimes 4/8s in decisions. He's a guy that makes people pay for letting waves go by under their priority. The last heat was decided on the buzzer. Joan Duro now on the boat with Rosie Hodge.
That's right, Joe. What an exciting finish, John. You had a few opportunities in that heat, but how good does it feel to really capitalize on that last wave and turn the heat?
Yeah, I was keep trying because there was no many wave, and I knew with a couple small barrel inside I could make it, so I was keep trying, and at the end I didn't think I was gonna have the score, and when we were leaving with the ski I just heard 6. I was like, oh, maybe I was needing this, and I get first. I'm so stoked.
And the determination against that experience. I mean, both Geordie and Ace Buchan have had success out here, but you with the determination really had the rhythm on your side of the ocean.
Yeah, I don't know, I didn't no plan, nothing. I was just I'm going and just hope the wave come to me, and that's it. And I got luck from here, so that's really cool.
And already into the quarterfinals, your rookie season in Tahiti. This event is so prestigious. How special is that?
Yeah, I'm so stoked. I love here. I come here a lot and a couple times, and I'm really stoked to be here. Everybody is really cool here, so it's perfect.
John, we'll see you in the quarters. Well done. Go prepare for that. Joey?
Thanks so much, Ro. So cool to hear from Joan Duro so much now, because he's getting used to those post-seed interviews with Rosie, because he keeps on winning. All the world-class waves just fit his type of surfing. Jay Bay, he was lethal. He had finaled there in the past when the QS showed up there. And also doing a great job to make the quarters at Cloudbreak. The Dream Tour just really makes sense to Joan Duro.
The smiling assassin. I love it. He's just having a giggle. He's loving what he's doing. It's his rookie year on tour, along with Connor O'Leary. I mean, you can tell how comfortable these two kids are on tour, and it's shining through in their surfing.
The Goofy Foots are coming. Could be one of those years where they take this one out. Medina obviously has done that just a couple of years back. Kelly winning this one last year. Connor, rookie on tour from Cronulla, kicked off the year with a quarterfinal, is still the leader of the Rookie of the Year race. Medina taking this one, and it's not going to give him much. So left him searching. He's out front, still with that 6.43, and Connor's still waiting for a completion.
Yeah, wave selection. You heard Strider talk about the tide bottoming out. Fingers crossed, once it switches and starts pushing back in, we'll get a little bit of an increase in the swell. That wind is absolutely perfect right now, so everything's starting to fall into play.
So awesome to see this event run in 3 straight days. The last event I remember that did that was in Portugal, the year De Souza beat Kelly in the final. That year, 2-time world champ Damien Hardman was the contest director, and every morning he's like, well, it's on, it's perfect. He's like, well, this is making my job easy. 3 full days of competition. Every day looked the same. We've had situations in the past in Tahiti where we've actually extended the waiting period. We've had certain swells where we had to wait 8 days before getting started. So to have 3 consecutive days is kind of making a big mark on this event. These surfers could just channel their rhythm. They don't have to wake up and go on hold. It's been on every single morning.
I like it. I think that's how every event should be run. Just get it on. Back in the day, we started on Wednesday, finished on Sunday, no matter what. So you wrap your head around that. Remember the Gold Coast a few years ago, Joe? What did we have? 11 lay days?
That's right. And then extended that waiting period.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes
you're just remembering all these tough heats you had to surf over the years when it was on no matter what. And then the game change that you guys had the vision for was like, what if we could actually have some time to really pick the best days in a waiting period, because you want to score every venue on tour.
Yep.
And then you have all these options. This year it came quick. As you see those beautiful bright green pyramid mountains that you get to look at when you're checking priority. You can really take in all the beauty of Tahiti. Really feels like old school Hawaii. Ocean colors, just even a deeper blue. The green seems greener than anywhere else in the world. You feel a solid connection to the power of this wave. And also it's cool on flat days to actually check out what the reef looks like. You can find the little holes on maybe where to escape, but also just check out how beautiful a live reef is. With now 18 minutes on the clock, Medina 6.43. Connor now needs a 5.94. All these guys prepared for the morning, getting boats through that channel that you see on screen. There's other little reef passes that people surf down in the distance, but it's all about having a boat or a kayak, or sometimes like yourself, Potch, you don't mind having a little paddle to one of the passes down the way?
No, not at all. It's a nice little warm-up. The water's warm. It's beautiful, and it's great exercise.
That's right. Our whole production crew is right there on the point. The land straight ahead in between that valley. All the fresh water went through those valleys for thousands of years to cut a little cutaway here in the reef to make this slabbing wave called chopo. Quick up and out for Medina. Once he's on the hunt without priority, he is so dangerous. I was talking to Alejo Muniz last year, and he said he remembered a heat with Medina that he had at restaurants over in Fiji. Alejo's okay, I'm going to wait for the best waves. It only takes top 2. Medina took the first one, got priority. On his way back out, he had 2 8s before he got back to the takeoff zone. He kept just spinning.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he had a huge combination to deal with, and he realized he can't really leave this guy alone in a matchup.
Well, Bede was recorded saying yesterday one of the toughest competitors he's ever had to surf against. So, you know, he's a competitive beast. I mean, he's that kind of guy that you kind of get nervous even when he's paddling into an average wave, as he is having a look at this one right here. That one's a no-taker, but you got to have nerves of steel really to sort of surf against Gabriel Medina. You got to stick to your guns because, like you said, he's just going to keep catching waves. He's going to keep getting scores, and the funny thing with him is he almost surfs himself into a good rhythm as well.
Medina, the 2014 world champ. Watching this now with the rookie Connor O'Leary. Nice drawn out takeoff, now packing it. Great positioning. That way puffs him out. No turns on the inside corner, but his best wave so far was 16 minutes to go.
Yeah, that was a better wave for sure. I think the best wave of the heat, maybe. Medina with a 6.43 as his highest score at the moment. No backup. Let's have a look at Connor. Decides to drop down and around. Now he folds under the lip. A little bonus section at the end, a bit of a crumbly exit, and then decides to kick out. So it's definitely Connor O'Leary's best wave. Let's have a look from the water angle. He goes down and around that first section. Now he sneaks under the lip. Good positioning right there and fights his way through the end section. So Connor O'Leary drops his best score yet.
Score's about to lock in. They'll compare that directly to Medina's 6.43. As we notice how the conditions continue to improve in the morning here. Just a little bit of sunlight can just really groom things out as it's looking like an exciting finals day still in the making. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back at Chopo, Tahiti for more after this. Let's flash back to 2014 to one of the most perfect years ever in Chopo history. Gabriel Medina, wearing the Jeep yellow jersey, was on fire that season and on road to win his first world title and a crazy final with Kelly Slater. Kelly's first fall came in the final, along with Medina's, as they were practically perfect up into the final stage.
Oh my goodness, have a look at that. Conditions were bar none the best I've ever seen out here, Joe, as far as size goes, as far as the way these guys approached it. Kelly there falling off on that wave, which I think was the difference. Had he come out of that, we might have seen a different result, but the pressure got to him, and Medina walked away with a win in probably one of the most epic battles I've ever seen.
So many great stories looking back at the Chopo Champions in a relatively young event when you really compare it to the others on the championship tour. Aki winning in '99. Kelly beat Shane Dorian in 2000. Corey was all over this event, free surfs and taking a major win. And you look at all the surfers on tour with major wins. Slater had a special 55th victory here last year, as he's still injured, as we hope him has a speedy recovery. Fanning still in the mix on tour, as he's already been knocked out though, at 22 wins on the all-time list. Parker went down as well in round 3. He has 12 wins to his name. De Souza and Medina now tied at 7, with Adriano matching up with Medina with that win at Saquarema earlier this season. Let's get caught up in this one. Medina just got a solid one, Potts.
Wow. Beautiful turn right there from Gabriel Medina. You could see how that first section of the wave, he was standing really far up the board, and you can see grabbing the face of the wave, slowing himself right down. Now watch the footwork. See how he slides his back foot back onto the pad and engages the fin. So a lot of those sort of technical footwork sort of on this wave where you've got to stand forward on your board. Use that rocker, as we always talk about, to slow yourself down, especially on your forehand. You haven't got that ability as on your backhand to slide your body into the wave and use that as a bit of resistance. You've only got your 2 hands, so to move forward on the board, you're using the rocker as well. Gives you that extra bit of resistance and slows you right down in the barrel. Loving that inside. More action to come here with Conor O'Leary. Winding up, one big pump, and nice and deep, beating multiple sections. And he's out. So now starting to understand the formula, getting some completions. Was selective at the start. Conor's last of 5.33. He needs at least an 8.2 for a lead change. But making his barrels are important at this stage with 11 minutes to go. And a spot in the quarterfinals still on the line. 13.53 two-wave total for Gabriel Medina. So Conor O'Leary, this is going to get him right back in the mix. Now he moves forward on the board again. You can see these guys are shuffling back and forth. Now he puts the foot back and didn't decide to really hook into that last maneuver. Let's have a look from the channel. Drives off the bottom, pulls up nice and tight, compressing that body, keeping that high line, and then kicking on out. So a 5.33 as his highest score. That's going to go in as well. Gabriel Medina wasting no time. Already locking into a big section. Great timing to just pull through before it pinches shut. And there's that fade to seal it. He's got every option in the world for a finish, but he always matches the wave. It didn't give him a ramp, so he'll fade that turn. Rosie Hodge asked him yesterday, what would be your dream scenario? He's like, okay, stand up barrel and then do the biggest punt over the shallow reef. I'm waiting for it. How'd you like this section? Look how far up the board he is, Joe. And then when he comes out, watch the back foot. The back foot slides back and then he drives off the fins. It's kind of been his protocol so far in this heat. Getting right up the nose of the board almost. That's old school stuff. I watched Tom Carroll do that through my entire career to great success at places like Pipeline. Obviously Tom riding a bigger board, so the footwork a little bit more drastic, but even though on these smaller boards the guys are sliding up the front and then moving, shuffling back to then hook into those turns. What a roll it's been for Medina. We saw that magical win in 2014 and some of the best conditions ever for this contest. Runner-up to Flores the following season, so back-to-back finals. Kind of those same years, Potts. He was back-to-back finals as well at the Pipe Masters. He's won Fiji. He's been in multiple finals there as well. So finding most of his consistency in the heavy waves on tour. And you kind of think about the results where you think of Medina, Kelly, John in the last few seasons, really playing some serious roles in who ends up being the title. Remember the John Kelly Superheat tiebreak decision the year Medina won. So you think maybe Kelly had so much work to do in that semifinal and then right into a final, ends up having his first fall. And then also you think about John last season, had a super semifinal as well to deal with. Got through that, was relieved, but then runner-up to Kelly as well. So you see how those guys have been in the final series and sometimes giving each other a lot of hard work to do before the last heat of the contest. Well, that's it. You know, you want to try and save your best for last, but when you come up against the likes of Medina, John Kelly, you really do just got to let the hammer go and put everything into it. A lot of the time after that, there's not much left in the tank, so unbelievable battles. And you know, you look at those three guys, you talk about those three names, and coming into the back part of the year, they've all had great success. So if Medina obviously can move up and get a good result here, maybe he could be the winner here at this event. That would be the 7th new winner on tour. He could get himself in that world title mix going into the back part. He's done extremely well through Europe and into Hawaii. Back-to-back sevens for Medina. He wants more. Locks in on the takeoff. Great positioning as he's gone. And comes out right into an alley-oop rotation, but he will end up out the back. Trying to get that dream combination underway.
That got us psyched. What about you, Waz? How high did he get on that one?
That was pretty incredible, just seeing him eyeball that thing as he was coming out of the tube. So, and you know, riding the barrel is one thing. It's not an easy task, right? You got falling water, lip. You're trying to hold the inside rail to stay in the tube as long as you can. And as he's doing all that, I saw him eyeball. I see his eyes just transfer out to the lip to say, oh, wait a minute, there's something I can hit on my way out. And he literally came straight out of the barrel looking at that section to throw the alley-oop. I mean, the guy's got intuition. He's just foreseeing all these sections that are just out of control. You know, threading line, looking at that lip, barrel riding, then coming out and just really throwing it up into the, I mean, he almost stuck that thing. It's just incredible to watch him go for those dream combinations. He's having an amazing heat right now, and for him to be able to just go into this freedom of surfing that he's got and that tactical surfing, it's just amazing to watch from the water. You know, he's got something a little extra right now, and I think, you know, it's obvious. He's finding waves and he's pushing hard. He's got this intensity you can see physically from the water when you're this close to the athletes, where you can actually almost feel their psyche and their intensity, and they're pushing harder. And it's something that, you know, he's got over O'Leary right now, because O'Leary's had some nice waves, but I think he's counting more on the wave to do the work than he is himself. And, you know, that's the difference in the heat right now, is that Gabriel's also matching the wave with performance.
Good man. Strider Wasilewski with the Channel Report on finals day, breaking down two talented goofy foots fighting for a spot into the quarterfinals. Whoever wins this heat runs straight into a matchup with Owen Wright as this one continues. Owen got the crucial win in round 4, heat number 1. Then we saw the battle with Wilco and Medina. Wilco, aware of Medina's skill sets out here, used his priority to take Medina off a wave, gave him an interference, left Kolohe all alone, and Dino took advantage of that to make quarterfinal number 2.
Yeah, so you figure if Matty Wilco had let Medina go on that wave, it was going to be maneuver-based anyway. Matty Wilco would have got the wave that Kolohe had, so it's that sliding door moment. It's those split-second decisions that sometimes go your way and sometimes don't.
Now hitting the 5-minute mark, Potts. We've got a lot of great styles in surfing, but in the barrel, there's been some incredible ones, especially if they're on their forehand. And during this heat recap, we can really break down how they use their technique to stall and max out the tube time, starting with Gabriel Medina here.
Yeah, well, Gabriel Medina obviously standing way far forward on his board. You can see, and now he moves his feet back to hit that sweet spot and get those fins engaged. Had he been forward on his board into that turn, those fins wouldn't have engaged. He wouldn't have got that drive off it. Connor O'Leary, very, very similar. You can see the footwork. Both guys' feet way far up the board. So both guys using very similar techniques, very similar tube riding techniques. You want to get far up on your board. Again, Medina, look how far up on the board he is. Using that rocker, using that front arm, that double grab, and then he slides back on his board and drives off those fins. So very, very similar approaches for both these guys. I think the waves have been the difference, and Medina's found himself on 2 gems. So 7.10, 7.27 for Gabriel Medina, and Connor O'Leary with a 5.33 and a 6.33. He's still in the heat. He only needs an 8.04 with just under 4 minutes remaining.
So Potts breaking down the two different techniques. Getting forward on your board for momentum compared to standing right above your fins, just according to the section that you're dealing with.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you saw that last wave that Medina had where he came out and tried the alley-oop. His back foot was on the pad. Why? Because he was anticipating what was going to happen. Had he been up the front of the board, there wouldn't have been enough time to then shuffle back to get that alley-oop in there. So he's already thinking ahead, and that's the crazy thing about Gabriel Medina. Even though he's in the barrel, he's already focused on what he's going to do after that tube ride.
It's amazing watching how much these guys move on these short equipment that they use out here at Chopo. Even John on his backhand uses his entire board, and you notice how he prepares. He waxes that thing from tail to tip. First it was okay because he's got an air game, but it's also for surfing the heavy water waves because he likes to use every inch of his surfboard to manage his speed well. 3 minutes on the clock in round 5, he won. John also successful making it to the quarters along with Johan Duru. Wilco wearing the Jeep yellow jersey, trying to match his personal best result if he can get past a fired up Wiggly Dantas.
The wounded animal is twice as dangerous, as they say. And Matty Wilco obviously focusing on Gabriel Medina, letting Kolohe and Dino alone, and paid the price for it. He didn't look too worried about it, though. He's going to give him another shot out in the water. I think Matty Wilco is looking pretty good. I think Wiggly is going to be looking for the barrel mostly. It's
We
going to be a
also
tough heat.
look at that matchup pots, the interference that Medina got from Wilco. Wilco was really smart, knowing that he had priority. Wiggly's one of those competitors that has done that to surfers a couple of times in the past, so they're tactically sharp. For Wiggly, he's looking for a big result. For Matt Wilkinson, he's trying to hang on to that top spot on the Jeep leaderboard.
Well, you look at John's through, Geordie's through, Owen's through.
Now it's up to Wilco as you look at the top four. The shaded names are out. A couple of world champs there from De Souza to Joel. And then Toledo, the guy who's just on fire from Jeffreys Bay. Semi-final at the U.S. Open. And just all the talk surrounding him for good reason. For double alley-oops, 2 10s on road to that final at Jeffreys in a beautiful forecast. Coming off his absence from Fiji, he knew he had to take advantage of this one. Out once again in round 2. As you know, Toledo's got more time to prepare for what's kind of his home court now in San Clemente at Lower Trestles. It's kind of going to be a must-win situation for Toledo since he already has his throwaways now.
Well, I mean, you look at what's coming up. You know, Trestles, France, Portugal, 3 events that Toledo could just go on a bit of a heater. He could win back-to-back events without a doubt. I mean, he's touted as the best guy in high-performance surfing. So for him to, you know, have a bad result here, obviously missing Fiji, came out fired up to win J-Bay, had a bad result here. Let's hope he comes out fired up for Trestles.
Another big stop coming up next in San Clemente. This is finals day here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti with 35 seconds on the clock for Connor O'Leary to try to upset one of the best out here. Connor needing an 8.04. Coming into this event, still in the top 10 as the best rookie so far on tour. Under the priority of Medina, they're already shaking hands. And Medina looks like he's going to head off to the channel to prepare for our quarterfinal matchup against Owen Wright later on today on finals day. Back-to-back 7s made the difference for Medina to get into the final series once again. And coming up next in round 5, man on top of the Jeep leaderboard, Matty Wilco takes on Wiggly Dantes right after this.
Coming into Tahiti with the yellow Jeep leader jersey is pretty massive. It's kind of the start of the back half of the year, and I've got momentum, and hopefully I can just keep putting solid results on the boards at every event.
Having a look now, Wilco into the pit underneath priority.
This year I feel comfortable kind of being up this end, and I feel like I know what it takes to stay here.
Matt Wilkinson finds himself in familiar territory, once again wearing the Jeep yellow jersey, which means He's #1 in the world heading into stop number 7 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. He's battling with Wiggly Dantes for a spot into the quarterfinals. These two are tactically sharp, both solid in the barrel. Dantes had a huge reputation for getting absolutely shacked before he qualified for the tour, so we knew he was going to work out the system quickly on tour. Wilco wants to get this one started, pulling right in under the hood. He's gone and comes out quickly. No turns on the inside corner, but he's able to get that opening score off Dantes, so we didn't see a serious hassle for that inside priority. Before we watch the replays there, let's hear from Medina on the boat with Rosie Hodge.
Well, keeping the fans engaged, Gabriel Medina, we spoke about it yesterday about the potential to do an air archer, but I want to know from you, you come out of the barrel, what do you spot on that end section that gets you excited to go to the air?
Yeah, I tried to go to the air after the barrel. Today's it's small, you know, so it's good to do airs, especially now. I think stop a little bit the wind, and yeah, I just went for it. Yeah, I didn't make it, but maybe in the next one. But it's fun when it comes, you know. It's just you have to have patience, you know, to wait and go to have a good choice, you know. Like you have to choose well, and I mean it's good, but it's tricky.
And you know that last heat with Kolohe and Dino, Maddie Walker and yourself obviously got a bit scrappy. How do you kind of leave those altercations in that last heat and not let it affect your performance throughout the day?
Yeah, that was a hard one. I did a mistake in the interference thing, and yeah, but it happens, you know. You have to forget about these mistakes and just go for it. Oh, we just got some.
It is firing out there, guys. I'm going to send it back to you.
Thank you, Rosie Hodge. Dantes standing tall in a solid barrel at Chopu. Wiggly's really good friends with Gabriel Medina, and Medina had to take a look at that thing from the boat as he's getting fired up here on finals day. Dantes has made it this far in the past as a rookie on tour. He's wanting that first quarterfinal berth.
Talk about fired up. That was an insane wave there from Wiggly. Matty Wilco with a 4.50 on the first strike. Have a look at this though. Clean, beautiful, standing up straight in the barrel, comes out with a spit and then dissects that turn, just driving off the fins. Beautiful surfing from Wiggly. Doesn't look to me like he's injured, and he's got that same sort of approach where he's further up the board, Joe. Now he slides back on the fins and just hooks into that maneuver, kicks out. So Wiggly off to a flying start. Have a look at that, just sneaks up under the hood. Perfect positioning, perfect timing. He's done that before a few times, hasn't he? He loves waves like this, and it's a very similar tube stance. Matty Wilco further back on the board, a lot wider in that stance, kicking out. You can see that back foot always on the pad. Why? Because he had to drive through that barrel. There was no slowing down on that one. So when you've got those really quick ones, that's when you keep your fins engaged. You weave through it, you duck and weave, and you know, compress your body and try and get through that barrel. With those bigger ones, those bigger wide open ones, you want to slow yourself down. That's when you move forward on the board.
Wiggly Dantes representing Ubatuba, Sao Paulo, Brazil, now 27 years of age, into his third lap around the world as a part of the top 34, and kicking off this matchup in a huge way, an 8.17. We call that excellent surfing for the world's best, from the 8 to 10 point range. Wilco, a 4.5. So Dantes is going for an upset on the rankings here.
And that he is. He's super dangerous out here. There's a lot of waves that he is dangerous at. This is definitely one of them. Top of the list probably. Pipeline, another one. And if Wiggly can fire in those in Cloudbreak, Chopu and Pipeline, he's going to solidify his place on tour next year.
Wiggly's always said he's been in love with Pipeline ever since he was a little kid, going over there to the North Shore of Oahu. As you see a similar sound out here at Chopu, that you hear a pipe when it's absolutely firing. There's a good chance if you love pipe, you're going to love surfing at Chopu as well.
Absolutely. I think Chopu is probably a little bit easier. I think you find your spot at Chopes and you sit down and you wait for it. A little bit harder to see coming though, because it comes out of deep water and then lurches onto the reef, whereas Pipeline, you've got the outer reefs that sort of give you a little bit of indication that the sets are coming. got that second reef that if it's big, it stands up there, and it, you know, you can really sort of shift and move, and it's quite a tricky wave to work out. I think Pipeline are a little bit more difficult to work out than Chopu. Both very dangerous, both beautiful in the same sense.
And both a huge part of the story on the championship tour. Pipe Masters is always the way we finish off the season. It's the event that everybody on tour dreams of winning at some stage of their career. And oftentimes where we end up deciding the world champs and requalification as well. There's always so much that goes into the end of the year. Wiggly, without priority, just takes off deep to give himself a backup score. Great positioning and a perfect little insider. Already had the 817. What a smart move from Dantas.
Very smart. Matty Wilco just definitely not interested in that one. Why? Because he needs to combat that 8.17 that Wiggly's dropped on the wave before. He's got to be patient. The 23 minutes remaining. Those smaller ones are not going to cut it. You're not going to get massive scores on it, but in saying that, Wiggly, beautiful positioning, nice clean little in and out, and it's going to be a beautiful little backup for him.
Now locking in on the takeoff. Matty Wilco, nice and deep, puts both arms in the wall to slow down. There's that off the top carve. He's got the rhythm, little jam down the line, and he's out of there. I like that he had time to play with the wall there, just to time his speed. He's playing catch-up against Dantas. It's a great timing to get involved there, Potts.
Yeah, Matty Wilco, a little bit of a different approach too. Keeps that wide stance, keeps that foot on the pad, and using just his arm to slow himself down. Both guys very successful at their strike rate though, so it's going to be a good score for Matty Wilco.
Always love the Hobgood's approach out here. The goofy footside would get so low on the takeoff. How'd you like that spin into the hood?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, just reaction time was perfect. And with that foot being on the back pad, it just gives him that opportunity to come straight out of the barrel and into some big turns. There's no footwork necessary. Let's have a look. See, nice wide stance, using that back arm to drag. Now he uses the front hand to slow himself down just that little bit, and then hooks into the turn. So that wide stance really boding well for Matty Wilco. Why? Because as soon as he comes out the tube, he's in the perfect position to then hook into those big maneuvers.
Talked about combinations here at Chopu. Sometimes it doesn't make a difference if it's massive and it's all about the barrel. Today we've seen it make a difference with finishes. Dantas with a beautiful start at an 817, but Wilco heading the right direction with his best score locking in a 617. With Wiggly's last, he'll probably be back in the lead. Strider, how are you enjoying this exchange?
You couldn't get any funner from the beach right here. You know, it's like we're watching these guys battling out. The conditions have cleaned up. There's cylinders coming through on every set. And, you know, I think we're going to see those sets continue to rise as the tide turns around. I mean, we're watching Wiggly now glide into this one. These waves have a nice crease in them now. You can see him weaving through this thing, perfectly executing another tube. Big cut back on the face right there, right in front of us. Beautiful surfing right there from Wiggly in rhythm. And that's what you need out here. You have to catch fire and feel those sets coming. And that's what he did at the beginning of this heat. If you remember, he gave Wilco that first wave. He did not contest him, which is interesting because he always wants to get those first waves. But now he's let him have it. Look out the back here. We got Wilco looking at this thing, eyeing down the line, holding the wall, knowing he needs to be deep. Punches through. Beautiful work right there. Tried to get out in front of Wiggly. It's not going to happen. Wiggly's going to win the paddle battle on the way back out. On the previous wave of Wilkinson, he actually said, you know, he paddled by and just looked over and said, I needed to be in there longer on his last wave, on the wave prior to that one. So identifying that he could have been in the barrel longer and trying to do as much as he can to stay in there. You saw him grabbing the wall, stalling, and Wiggly finding the better wave. So both of them amazing tube riders. Right now, Wiggly's got the upper hand in the rhythm.
Great to see a battle where they both get great options. Looking from the channel view here, how'd this one work out, Potts?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a crumbly end, though. It's quite possibly could better his 4.50. I mean, he's only looking for a 588, but this wave hasn't been locked in yet. A bigger, solid wave from Wiggly comes out with a spit yet again and then hooks into that turn. Big, powerful kid. The injury, well, it doesn't look like it is hindering anything for Wiggly. I like the fact he drives off that bottom. Now he moves forward on his board, pumping, comes out clean, and then that turn. So he's opting to use that turn at the end of the wave as well now to just maximize the scoring potential. Now he puts the foot on the pad and then drives off it. I mean, what a powerful kid this is as he kicks out of wave number 3. And what a score it is, Joe. It's going to extend his lead.
7.33 for last of Wiggly Dantes. 8.17 start. And he has world number 1 chasing a 9.33 now. Last of Wilco, 5.83. His best is 6.17. So judges seeing a big difference in the wave selection and the performance from Wiggly, since Dantes has 2 of the best scores in the matchup so far.
So what's happening is both guys are getting barrels. So the judges have got to then identify which one is hollower, which one's longer. And then the exit becomes very important as well. Wiggly's been coming out cleanly with the spit, whereas Matty Wilco's sort of fighting through that white water. So Wilco's got to sit and be patient and wait for the bigger set waves and try and find those clean exit ones. I think if he does that, he's going to get up into the excellent score.
So Dantes doing such a good job reading this lineup. We already knew that it was going to be one of his favorite events on tour as a rookie. When he was on the QS for years, the year that he qualified was actually going all out. That was his last opportunity he was giving himself to really spend time on the qualifying series. He said if it didn't work out that year, he was just going to focus on being a free surfer, hunt down big barrels. Next thing you know, he started getting on a roll, kept winning events, did well at Saquarema when that was a qualifier, and then got a spot on the Dream Tour and finished really well. In his second season, we saw a little bit of a slide where he got close to the cutoff mark on the CT. He still felt safe, but he kind of wants to return to that rookie kind of fire where he came out guns blazing. With an injury, that can be tough to do, but now with more intent, when the waves are good and nice and hollow, he's doing a great job so far.
Oh, fantastic job. I think fighting through the pain, you know, mind over matter, really, and it's the adrenaline's pumping. He's got the yellow jersey guy to contend with, and he's doing a fantastic job. 8.17, 7.33, 16 minutes to go. Quite a comfortable lead at the moment, but it is Chopu, Joe, and there is massive scores to be had out here. Matty Wilco needing a 9.33. We've seen scores up and above that, so anything's possible out here.
That's right, and the Jeep yellow jersey could be in jeopardy if Dantes can hang on to this win. We'll find out if he can do it right after this. Let's flash back to just a couple of events prior. In 2017, we saw Matt Wilkinson chasing world number 1 in this matchup. He took down some big names when all the top 10 was getting taken out of round 3. He went to back-to-back consecutive finals at Cloudbreak, beating Connor O'Leary to take 10,000 points and his first win of his career at Cloudbreak.
Unbelievable surfing from Matty Wilco. He's just fine-tuning his game, getting better and better, and you know, I tell you what, he's going to be one to watch for many, many years to come. He's working it out. He's starting to believe. I was very, very impressed with his approach, very mature approach at Cloudbreak for Matty Wilco. Finds himself back in the yellow jersey, but this time, understanding why and working out why and working out how to stay there. That's a big deal.
It's such a great story with Matt Wilkinson's complete turnaround to become a world title contender. It all started the previous season when he had back-to-back wins from Snapper to Bells. He had the Jeep yellow jersey and a massive lead on the Jeep leaderboard. This was the event last season where it just slipped away. I don't think that's going to happen in the same way this year.
No, not in the same way, but he's got to be very careful. I mean, at the moment, Wiggly Dantes has got him up against the ropes. Because it's so close at the moment between himself and John. John's through. Now he needs to make it through as well. Otherwise, John could get the yellow jersey back, and we don't want that same sort of feeling. But a different headspace for Matty Wilco.
And a much better performance at Chopu from last year, as he continued to get knocked out early from lowers to the European leg. And he just looked uncomfortable in that feeling, where he started dropping down a couple of spots on the leaderboard. Now he's calm. He doesn't seem like his results are really affecting him in the same way, even if he's not meeting his goals. But he's one surfer that's had the consistency of at least 2 finals. We talked about 6 different winners, but he was runner-up at Snapper, so he's already starting number 2 in the world. And then with a win at Cloudbreak, you can see how he got to that spot on the Jeep leaderboard.
Well, look at that. 31.95 to 31.7 to 31.35 to 31. I mean, it's so close that if Matty Wilco falters in this round, we're going to see a change of the yellow jersey, Joe.
It's that tight. It's basically like a round ahead of each other, just round by round, and even the top 4 is so tight. We can't even make it official until we see what happens with Owen Wright, with Jordy Smith. Jordy coming up next, as he has Connor Coffin. Bit of a rematch from Jeffreys Bay. Yeah,
a bit of a rematch. You'd have to say maybe a slight advantage to Connor out here, just due to the fact that he's had a lot of experience at Cloudbreak. He loves waves like this. Jordy's had some scary moments out here, but it's a different Jordy Smith again this year as well. So he's looking sharp. He's looking good out here. He's had some good barrels. Just got to find himself on the right wave. So that's coming up next. It's going to be a great one to watch.
11:30 to go in this one. Winner moves on to the quarters to take on Kolohe and Dino as this one continues. Dantes surfing through that slight knee injury, which could have affected his start. Round 2 losses to kick off the year. Then finally built up to a 9th at Bells. That's the round before the quarters. Also the same result at Sakurema, which he had a lot of success at on the qualifying series. Then one of his pet events against Doctor's Orders to go to Cloudbreak, but got knocked out in round 3. And then to go to J Bay, where in his rookie year he's taken out guys like Joe Parkinson. Really made sense of that place for a goofy footer. So not matching the results of his rookie year on tour, but this could be that turnaround event for him for the back end of the season.
Remember that barrel he got at J Bay?
Oh yeah.
Just didn't back it up.
He loves getting barreled.
Oh my gosh.
That's his favorite.
It was one of the best waves through that entire event, but just unfortunately didn't back it up. As did B. Durbridge yesterday, got one of the best waves of the day, but failed to back it up. Mick Fanning got one of the best waves yesterday, failed to back it up. It takes 2.
That's right.
2 good ones.
Sometimes you see guys get knocked out with the high single score. Barrel's the ultimate feeling. I mean, Potts, would you rather get an 8-foot barrel or do an 8-foot air if you had to pick one?
I'd get an 8-foot barrel.
Always is going to win.
For sure. It's the best feeling in the world. You're surrounded by the ocean. You're encased in this liquid room, and things slow down. You notice little droplets falling out of the sky. You notice just those small little idiosyncrasies, the lip hitting the water and this white water shooting up the face, and you're maneuvering over the top of it, and time expands in the barrel. You're in there for 3 or 4 seconds. It feels like a lifetime. There's so much going on that the time kind of stands still.
What an amazing feeling. Broken down by one of the world's best. Once you get barreled, you just want to get barreled every time you surf, especially when you come to Chopu, Tahiti. That's what it's all about. That's why surfers say they sometimes get the best waves of their life in the Jersey here in competition, pushed by the world's best. Not just in their heat, but they want to show what they got in front of their peer group that are watching closely in the channel. As you see the Coffin family on hand for the heat coming up next. Connor taking on Jordy Smith. Remember, those two have the resurf at J Bay. Jordy ended up getting that final decision. Now it's coming to a hollow left-hander here in Tahiti, in a place where Jordy's still looking for his first berth into the final series.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jordy. He's been dealt some rough blows out here. Obviously injuring his ribs during that Code Red swell, and then a couple of years ago getting caught inside by undoubtedly one of the biggest set waves I think I've ever seen out here in a competition. It was that wave that Coyote paddled over, looked back, and Jordy Smith was underneath that thing. And, he's lucky to be alive, that's for sure. Kind of rattled him just a little bit, but, he's come back stronger. What doesn't kill you just makes you stronger, right?
That's right. Jordy finished runner-up in the world last year. That was the second time he's done that in his career. Next goal, easy, world title with a lot of different contenders this season. Maybe the closest title race we've had in a long time here is stop number 7. Wilco wants to hang on to the Jeep yellow jersey. He doesn't have priority. He's still looking for a 9.33 to come through. And if he can't get the score, that means John will take the Jeep yellow jersey heading into lower trestles. So that number 1 spot is on the line right now, Potts.
It sure is. And I'm sure it's in the back of Matty Wilco's mind. 7.5 to go, so still plenty of time to try and come back in this heat. Still plenty of time to get 2 waves. I mean, yeah, we've seen heats being turned really quickly.
So with now 7:22 on the clock, you got to be thinking Wilco could be feeling a little bit of pressure. What do you think, Strider?
Well, it's definitely time. It's one heck of a time for the ocean to take a break, right? We haven't seen any waves in the last 5 minutes. It's been really slow, and, you know, Dantes has priority. So, you know, you got these bright indications on the judges tower there who's in priority, and it's got to be looming over Wilco right now as he looks back in and sees the gold, the yellow on, you know, in second priority. That's got to hurt a little bit with time winding down. The pressure is building right now. You know, he's got to start thinking about the scenarios, everything that's happening. I'm sure there's been some math done just off the top of his head about whether if he loses here and John's already through, he's gonna relinquish the jersey. You know, those kind of thoughts start to settle in. And, you know, last year, this is where the wheels kind of came off. And it seems to be, you know, this is something that he's got to be feeling. And right now, if he can turn this around, he needs a really solid score. He can do it on 1 wave, but I mean, that's going to be a tough ask out here as the conditions seem to be kind of mellowing out. The rains come in, and we haven't had any waves. So, you know, he's probably sitting out there looking at his competitor and hoping that there's a solid 2-wave set that's going to come through, and then he's going to get the better of it.
Thank you, Strider. As we know, Wiggly's reputation so tactically sharp with the lead, under 6 minutes and priority. There's a few more minutes that Wilco wants on the clock, that's for sure, and he's hoping that sets start flying in so Wiggly can make that decision early. As we check out the heat recap, a spot in the quarters is on the line, and the Jeep yellow jersey is in jeopardy. Dantes looking for his best result of the season. He's made round 5 in the past, but he wants to go further here in Tahiti. Kick things off with an 8.17.
Matty Wilco fighting back, though. A 6.17 and a 5.83 at this moment, not enough. A 9th place, not a keeper result when you're on your way to a world title. 5th place, which is the next round, is kind of a keeper result. So important stuff right here for Matty Wilco coming down to the 5-minute mark. Wiggly Dantes, though, is showing us why he's a danger man out here. He's had a pretty lackluster year, so this could be the kickstart for him. It could give him that energy, that positivity moving forward. And he's got some great scores. Started with an 8.17 that really put him in good rhythm with the waves. There's been 2 screamers that have come through this entire heat, and Wiggly has been on both of them. The importance of priority at the right time is of the utmost importance today.
Wiggly Dantes, happy to be from a place called Ubatuba. And as we know, traditionally, the Brazilian Storm really sticks together. It's a traveling pack that back each other in the big events around the world. Wiggly kind of stands out from that picture a bit, where he's friends with a lot of international surfers as well. One of his best friends, Jeremy Flores. They've got a lot in common. They love big barrels and coming to the waves like this. They even do free surf trips together in Indo, trying to get the most craziest barrel in front of each other. So great sparring partner. Medina, world champ, one of Wiggly's best friends as well. So he just happens to be surrounded by guys that love getting huge barrels in between events. So he's always has options on how to warm up, how to find a little bit of a tip to improve on his game as well.
Yeah, and you know, if you go on strike missions with your best friends, you're going somewhere scary, right?
That's exactly right. Wiggly loving the beautiful tropics here, spending a lot of time with Gabriel. We mentioned how he moved his location to closer to the point, kind of a little closer to where Medina stays. And it was basically just a move for himself. He's staying on his own now, and he can kind of handle his own game just the way he wants to. He wanted to get a few more laps at Chopo. He's staying closer to different reef passes down the way. Sometimes there's just little changes you make for how you warm up for an event can make a difference in a big result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, obviously there's other waves you can surf here, but this is the one that you need to know better than anything. It's like Kelly Slater in Hawaii. Where does he stay? He stays right in front of pipeline, surf that wave every single day, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get out here no matter what the conditions are like, because you come down to situations like this where the weather forecast, the swell forecast isn't great. You get thrown out in a different kind of chopu that you're used to, and if you're not familiar with it, it could upset the uppercut.
So a lot of secrets to success. Important. Buy a house at Pipe at some point in your career.
Yeah, you got to spare 5 or 6 mil.
2:40 on the clock. Jordy Smith coming up next against Connor Coffin. The Jeep yellow jersey in jeopardy. If Wilco goes down, it goes to John first. As we see Wilco nice and deep, but really deep to get the completion. Just wanted to get an option under priority of Dantes with 2:20 to go.
Yeah, well, he had to go, didn't he? I mean, running out of time, needing a 9.33. If that wave somehow held up just a little bit more than it did, and Matty Wilco found some sort of exit, wow, it could have been a close call. Nerves of steel for Wiggly there to let Matty Wilco go. He knew, though. He looked down the line and went, you know what, that wave's going to shut down, and Matty Wilco, you can have it.
Wiggly has had ninths before this year, and that's what you get if you finish in round 5. So looking for his first quarter final of 2017 against current world number 1.
1.5 minutes.
Wilco asking for time.
Last of yellow is a 1.23.
Wilco will move to number 2 in the world if he can't find a score in 90 seconds. However, doing better than last season. Coming close to matching his personal best, which is a quarterfinal out here in heavy conditions. So even if he did go down in this heat, Potts, it's an improvement from last season in a big way.
It is, in a lot of ways too. I mean, he's looking way more comfortable this year. He's got his head on his shoulders way better. And number 2 is not a bad place to be. The pressure's off just a little bit. And John with that yellow jersey is going to start feeling the pressure of the leader. So we could see a seesaw battle throughout the back part of this year. It's going to be exciting.
And Jordy with front row seats as well, just behind John on the Jeep leaderboard, is now thinking about his chances to move up some spots. It's a big difference from a round 5 loss to even a quarterfinal loss. Once you get in the quarters, you're getting at least 5,200 points. So we'll see how much this will affect Wilco's title run. 30 seconds on the clock. Doesn't have priority Wiggly right next to him to close this thing out.
Yeah. This is where the defense comes into play. 20 seconds remaining. Wiggly holding that inside position. Looks like maybe one more wave coming through just on the 15-second mark.
And now into the countdown. Wiggly could take this wave if he wants it, and he will commit with priority to seal the deal. A defensive move. He doesn't really need a big score, but he'll show that his knee's feeling just fine with that layback hack, as Wiggly is now turning in his best result in the making in his career at Chopu. And we've just lost Matt Wilkinson from the contest, and he has just lost the Jeep yellow jersey, as that'll trade hands to John Florence.
What a year, Joe. What a year. It's going to be one of the closest world title races we've had in some time, and we could quite possibly see a different winner here in event number 7. I can't wait to see how this all unfolds.
Crazy how it happened. A second consecutive season where John is wearing yellow. Round 5 continues. Connor Coffin taking on Jordy Smith in the next heat. We'll bring in Kaipo Guerrero and Peter Mel for the call.
Bottom floor of Chopo, live coral reef. Beautiful, but also dangerous. We're in heat 3, round number 5. Connor Coffin versus Jordy Smith. Regular foot battle. Kaipagura along with Peter Mel for the call here. We saw Jeep Leader go down in the last heat, and Wiggly Dantes with that injured knee moving on to the quarterfinals. Lots of stories continue to build here, finals day of the Billabong Pro Tahiti.
Big heat here for Jordy Smith, needing to keep up with John Florence and Owen Wright, who are into the quarterfinals. Big time loss for Matt Wilkinson. You know, he needed to get through that heat and into the quarterfinals to keep that Jeep Leaders jersey. Not so. He is out. So that means this man right here in the blue jersey is going to have to get through this heat. Very important.
Yeah, as we saw that standing on the Jeep leaderboard, top 4, 4th place and 1st place, only 800 points separating them. So it's going to be some interesting math as we come to the pointy end here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti.
It's one heat, you know, and that's really what it is, one round. You know, if you're able to beat the other 2 competitors, these 3 guys, if you're able to get a heat ahead, you're going to take the rankings lead, the Jeep rankings lead. It's so important.
Well, we saw a glimpse of sunshine for a moment for a couple of heats, Peter, but then off of the ocean, squall mob moving through here, and it's raining down. Well, as we wait for the opening exchange between Connor and Jordy, let's check in with Rosie Hodge and Wiggly Dantes.
Yeah, luckily for us, we've had some exciting performances today. The rain is bucketing down, but Wiggly, coming up against world number 1, that's no easy feat. Your first quarterfinal, you've got to be feeling confident and really validated after that performance.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's going to be a hard heat, and the wave's kind of slow a little bit, but it's good to surf Chopo with one more guy, you know. I know we're going to wait for the good waves, and I just got my first good wave, and I got a sick barrel. And after just waiting for the good ones, and Wilco got a sick one too, but the wave is kind of slow, so it's like 15 minutes just waiting. It's like no waves.
And that 15 minutes that you spend waiting, I mean, how do you keep yourself amped, especially when it's kind of raining, it's windy, but you just have to keep that hope that that good one's going to come around the corner?
Yeah, for sure. Just waiting and have a priority, so I know if the good one come, I'm gonna go. So I just like, okay, so one more good set, and just waiting, but it's no waves at all, and I'm just happy to make my heat, and Wilco's world number 1, and the confidence now is like pretty better for sure. Beat like the number 1, and that's good. I just feeling good. My board's working good, and it's a couple waves, so I've been having fun.
And what about that one that you let Wilco go on underneath your priority? That must have been tense moments for you.
Yeah, I know the wave's not gonna be that good. It's not that barrel, so I look the wave and I just say, okay, it's gonna pinch in the end, so I go. I don't want to lose the priority in a small, you know, like small shitty wave, so I just let him go, and I look the waves and say, maybe not, but it's okay.
Good read on the lamp. We'll see you in the quarters. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Congratulations to Wiggly. We look forward to see him in quarterfinals.
You know, it's just interesting when you're talking about like sitting in the lineup and, you know, you're waiting for waves. You're not daydreaming, I'll tell you that. You're definitely got your eyes peeled on the horizon. You're looking up the reef. You're checking lineups, making sure you're in the right spot. You're looking at your competitor. So you're always kind of paying attention, even though you're just sitting there. So it feels like that time actually really kind of flies by.
30 minutes fly by super quick. We're down to 23 minutes and 45 seconds. Connor Coffin from Santa Barbara, 24-year-old, currently ranked 17th on the Jeep leaderboard. Last year at this time, Connor was 23rd, so he's made an improvement this year, as well as heat wins for Coffin. Connor has had 8 heat wins this year. In 2016, at this point, he only had 6 heat wins. Connor's had a string of 9ths at the Gold Coast and Margaret River and J-Bay. Jordy Smith, this is the big story here, currently ranked number 3 on the Jeep leaderboard. And Jordy has a chance at that yellow Jeep Leaders jersey as well. If he finishes a place ahead of John Florence in this competition, he will take the yellow Jeep Leaders jersey.
Like I said, it's one heat. I mean, literally, that's how tight this race is. And we love it. We absolutely love it because, first of all, you get to spread the love a little bit with a bunch of different surfers. But what it does is it makes these surfers have to react with all of that pressure that's involved, because you'll see, oh, that guy made it through his round, so now I have to, and the performance level is going to lift by that urgency that needs to happen by these surfers.
We can see the year for Jordy Smith so far. Started off with a 9th, did quarterfinals, and then of course ringing the bell there in stop number 3 at Bells Beach. Just coming off another quarterfinal finish in South Africa at J Bay, where he scored and where he joined that perfect heat club. Perfect 20-point heat for Jordy Smith.
You know, the one opportunity looking in that schedule there, that first event at Snapper Rocks, feels like that was an event that Jordy can really, you know, he could win it. I mean, he's that type of surfer that his style and approach fits Snapper Rocks, but just a 9th place.
22 minutes remaining, 22.
You talked about time and staying focused. We're down to under 22 minutes right now, Peter. So it's kind of been the story so far today, where surfers, you know, a lot of the action's happening within the last 4 or 5 minutes of the heat to really determine who's the winner.
Well, it's been like that pretty much all event long. That's been the theme. You know, you never can count anyone out. You get 2 quick waves in quick succession here easily. You know, just looking at what we see now, that squall goes through, and sure enough, the wind kind of turns more of that south direction, which makes for a little bit of a ripple and roughening it up. So hopefully the sun now that you see kind of starting to pop will steer it back the other direction.
We talked about that quarterfinal finish at J Bay, the last stop. On his way to that quarterfinal finish, Jordy Smith joined the Perfect Heat Club. Let's take a look at that performance.
You'd always tout Jordy Smith as one of the standouts at Jeffreys Bay, winning that event.
On the water now with Connor Coffin. Brilliant rail work from the California, now setting up yet another pit. Not super deep quite yet, but it's still running through this inside zone. Now stands up in it. This one still chasing an exit, and Connor comes flying out. Jordy Smith, it's his turn to take over. Nice rapid carve for Smith. Deeper off the bottom, clean. Crisp layback hack off the roof. Hard off the bottom, blasting it through the lip. Big, lofty float. Jams into the pit real quick just to get a cover up and a look back to celebrate. A 10-point ride for Jordy Smith. We're going to see Jordy Smith once again advancing on into the quarterfinals.
That was actually a look back at the last matchup between these two. That was in J Bay, where Jordy Smith came out ahead of Connor Coffin, and we just heard the horn, Peter. We're gonna have a restart and a fresh clock.
Absolutely no waves coming through the lineup. That squall kind of flattening things out, the wind being ruffling, no waves ridden, so they get a fresh clock.
And can you explain to everyone how that happens?
Well, I mean, the head judge sits up there. All the judges actually sit up there, but the head judge specifically is going to watch the lineup. And if there's no waves in the first 10 minutes of a 30-minute heat, the ability is to get a fresh clock, get a restart, which we've seen here yesterday, wanting to get the entire round in. Head judge and the commissioner's office deciding absolutely no restarts. Today, we've got a little buffer. So again, if there's absolutely no waves like we heard this morning, they'll give the restart, which they've just done.
More time and a fresh clock for Connor Coffin and Jordy Smith. So now time to reset and await the first exchange.
But just reflecting back on that J-Bay performance from Jordy Smith, we do remember he did have 2 resurfs. There was the shark scare in his first heat with Felipe. They got everybody out of the water. He was in the lead at that point, and come back in the morning and they say, oh, we're resurfing and we're not going to start it, because they can make that decision at that point to either restart the heat at that exact same point or get a complete fresh clock, which they gave a new clock
and a clean slate.
And then, of course, he also had to have the resurf with Connor Coffin. So mentally challenged in that event, did very well to get to the quarterfinals.
Great insight, Peter. Right now, we have some thoughts from the last heat. Matt Wilkinson is with Rosie Hodge.
Thanks, Capo. Well, Maddie, you know, heartbreaking, frustrating, whatever word you want to use, surfing can be that sometimes, obviously, on that wrong side of the rhythm in that heat. Do you want to just give us some insight?
Yeah, I guess I made my biggest mistake was just going that first pretty average wave, and then he had priority for the for the first bomb that came through, and I was right next to him, and I was like, oh, what have I done? But it seemed like the ocean was starting to pulse, so I was pretty excited for a good heat. And then the one I got the 6 on almost had like a big West Bowl section, but it just held back a little bit, and I didn't really regret going that wave. I thought it was a pretty good one, and then that put him in priority for his 7, and then after that the ocean just stopped. So I got one little chance at the end, and I pushed through, and then it didn't really open up like I kind of hoped it would, but just put me on the reef and gave me a cut to make me even happier. Yeah.
Well, Maddie, bigger picture, how are you going to regain that number 1 spot? John has it now, and potentially Owen and Geordie can take it too.
Yeah, I'll just have to beat him in the next couple of events, I guess. It's, yeah, that's obviously a pretty disappointing one for me, but I don't know. I did my best, and yeah, the next few events, hopefully I can get a big result at Trestles. I'll go over there early and get some practice in and get my boards dialed, and then yeah, the Europe leg's always fun, so I'll just be doing my best for the rest of the year, and it'll be fun to watch these guys this afternoon. Hopefully it gets called off and everyone splits the points or something now. Nah, I don't know. It'll be cool to watch everyone get barreled. It'll be great to see Ace or Owen win. Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed, but that happens. It's surfing, and I gave it kind of everything I could. I made a few little mistakes today that cost me, but I'll be back next week or whenever Trestles is, and I'll be ready to go.
All right, Maddie. Well, 2017 has been so exciting. That world title race keeps hotting up, guys.
Thanks, Rosie and Professor Pete. You know, 9th place, 4,000 points. This isn't a throwaway for Matt Wilkinson. I want your opinion on that.
Well, if you're talking about title, yeah, it kind of is. You know, yeah, you can carry 1, maybe 2 if it's a weird year, but reality is you got to have that consistency across the board for the 9 events that count, quarterfinals or above. That's really pretty much the goal. Ultimately, wins. You got to win events. He's got one of those, and so again. But there's 5 other guys who do as well. So,
well, Wilco's got a runner-up, and and a victory here.
Right.
He does have his 2 throwaways already so far this season, so he's going to count. This 9th is going to carry.
Yep.
So he's going to carry this 4,000 points.
Yeah, and that's you never know. It's a funny year. We've seen losses already from John Florence. So if he unfortunately has another loss throughout the season.
Well, John has his 2 throwaways already locked in to his year.
That's right.
So. We take the top 9 results out of a year of 11 events. Geordie and Owen only have 1, what you would consider a throwaway so far this year. So exciting stuff. 2017, the waves, our field, the title race, it's just gearing up to be such an exciting year. I've been enjoying all of it.
And then just reflecting going into the Hurley Pro at Trestles, you look at past winners there. This guy in the water has won, John. So there's a lot of different winners that come there. You could see a Gabriel do well, or a Mick Fanning. Like, there's a lot of contenders. That field kind of opens and gathers out into a lot of the top 34. So you just never know. That's right, and that's why we're so drawn to the sport. That's why we're so drawn to competitive surfing, and we love the drama.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss a minute. And and to make sure you don't miss a minute, remember to download that WSL app to your mobile device so you can take all of this live action with you wherever you go, as well as some engaging content, and play fantasy surf, which I may just be leading our little group right now. I'm not sure, but
no.
I think I'm looking good.
No. Grab your phone, check it out.
I will.
Gosh, the ocean has got a little temperament here, so adjustments are going to have to be made. You can't look at the recent history here, because this is a ruffled ocean. Do you go to turns? Do you sit super patient and wait for that one hollow one? Some calls are going to have to be made here.
Coach Peter, what do you do?
Well, looking at the ocean right now, I would think that maybe you sit it out. I haven't seen any high quality waves to be able to say. I mean, we could in 3 minutes, get another restart. I don't know how the head judge is feeling about it, but it looks a lot different than we've seen most of the morning. Even early this morning, this is a bit more ruffled.
Yeah, pretty radical, this squall coming through. Like I said, we had the sun peek out for a moment, and it got nice, bright, and warm. Yeah, saw a dark horizon, and that moved through. As I look at the horizon right now, it seems a little bit lighter, so maybe we're going to have a, just all of this weather move through and get back to some better conditions for Jordy Smith and Connor Coffin.
Well, there's some blue sky.
There it is. See?
It's amazing what a little sunshine does. It obviously brightens it up, but also, like I said, steers the wind into a more favorable direction.
And there's our live coral reef, the bottom here. Peter, you talked about it, this wave. The bigger it gets, it doesn't necessarily move further out from this shallow coral reef. It just stays in a similar position. So whatever size, Chopo is an extremely dangerous, expert-only wave.
For sure. Which makes it that much more exciting to bring it to the championship tour. I remember the first years that they had decided to come to Tahiti here. It was a relatively new wave that had been found, and all of a sudden they're having us come fly to Tahiti to surf in an event. I signed up right away.
You wanted to explore. What year would that have been?
97.
97.
Yeah, and then 98 would be another year where we saw the Amariti go onto the reef. So there's been some exciting stuff from the very beginning of this event. It's been an allure. In 99, the first year of the championship tour.
In the early 90s, this wave was primarily ridden by bodyboarders, the likes of Ben Severson and Mike Stewart. When do you recall guys actually stand-up surfing out here?
Well, I mean, we've known that Tibote, and there's a few local guys that have surfed at this reef. And but I mean, as far as internationally known, Eric Barton.
Yeah, there you go.
When he had his cover shot here from Brian Stephen Hank, legendary photographer, that's kind of when it was introduced to the world. And we're all like, where is that?
Yeah.
And it wasn't really any specifics. You got Tahiti. That was about it. But End of the Road.
End of the Road was
another clue.
That's a big clue right there.
It is.
Look at on the bottom of the screen on the ticker, you can see all of our past champions out here. Gabe Medina still in the competition. Ace Buchan still in the competition. So we got some past champions still alive in the draw.
Well, it's interesting to see here. You got 30 seconds to see what the head judge makes the decision if they're going to see another horn for a restart.
I'm sure there's some conversing up on the judges' tower planted on the reef here at Chopo.
There has been waves. I mean, I wouldn't say that there isn't any waves. There has been waves moving into that inside section. Again, not the prettiest things in the world, but...
Decision time.
Nope.
No
restart.
So now how does a competitor's strategy change knowing that there's no fresh clock?
Well, again, it's a matter of preference. It seems to me that the patience has paid off with guys with experience. They always know how important it is to get the best waves in the heat. So, sitting it out and waiting. I mean, they haven't even established any priority yet at all. And Connor going to pull the trigger.
Here we go. Connor Coffin ducks under the lip and tries to fight his way out of there. Let's get some words from Strider. He's in the channel.
That's right. And wow, well, this has been a lackluster heat right here. This rain squall's come in, and it's absolutely like, I don't know, we call it Scottish, Irish, English. It's just cold out here in the channel right now, and with that, it's kind of flattened out the swell. There's really nothing coming through. There has been a couple of little tiny ones on the inside, but not a whole lot to deal with. So these guys, obviously, it's a huge heat. I mean, world title on the line. Jordy really needs to make it through this thing. He's just watched the front runner bow out, and for him, he's just got to be licking his chops. But the pressure, I feel like, would be building as well, because he's thinking, okay, this is my time, this is my chance. So he's got to wait for that wave, yet the ocean kind of turning off, and it did. It turned off in Wilco's heat as well, and that's kind of what rendered him into losing. He just didn't get the chance. So these guys looking for the chance out here right now, but not a whole lot during this heat, as we've seen a lot of waiting going on.
Thanks, Strider. And with the WAS tying in Scotland and Ireland into our Tahitian conversation.
It's a global sport.
It's a global sport. 18 minutes counting down. Still no wave. Well, still we got a 1 for Connor Coffin. So, yeah, and no fresh clock. So time ticking away. Patient game for Jordy Smith. Now with priority, he doesn't have to wonder what he needs to do.
As we can attest, I mean, the weather pattern here has been unique for this event. It's been, like I said, before we showed up, we had been told lots of wind, lots of rain. You know, that pattern kind of sets in. It's been chilly, you know, and it's true. It has been chilly, and you get the same kind of thing happening again where we've got all this wind and rain happening. And, of course, that's why we were really fortunate to really get these couple days of much better weather.
Yeah. And that's why we're taking advantage of it right now. Finals day here at Billabong Pro Tahiti, as we see Jordy Smith stroking into this one. Gets under the ledge really quickly and ducks into a little barrel. Now he's going to work his way through some warbly little sections for a backhand carve. Up a vertical stab in the lip and kicks out. So much better than the 1-point ride that Connor Coffin opened with Jordy Smith.
Nice work by Jordy Smith. Again, pulling the trigger, making sure that he's going to get a wave under his belt. That didn't look very high quality, but he created a score. He was in that barrel. He came out of the end of it. He didn't have to, you know, bust through it. It was an open hole, smaller wave. But look, I mean, he gets in there, and he's in there for a bit. And the importance of this wave is this right here, the turns at the end. This is going to solidify the score. You know, the carve and a snap and then kicks out. So it's going to be a pretty good ride here.
Water angle.
Again, tucking in, great technique. You see how he pushes that hand forward too. And lead with the hand. You lead with the head, lead with the hand. When you're dropping in, you want to push that head down and into the barrel. And then you can kind of point it. You're going to follow, your body's going to follow wherever your hands are leaded. Leaded isn't a word, but led. So good job there by Jordy Smith.
Led right into a 383.
It's a 383 though, like comparison to what we've seen throughout these first few heats. That's a low score, so still tentative times.
Well, we're halfway through, nearly halfway through the 30-minute heat. Guys actually got an extra clock, so they've been out there for 25 minutes as it stands, and just 2 scores. Dropping down. We're going to take a break, await Connor Coffin and his answer. Stick around for more of the Billabong Pro Tahiti. Back in round 5 action, and we're taking a look back to stop number 3 on the championship tour, where Jordy Smith had a big victory, ringing the bell.
One of the stops on tour that Jordy is one of the best. We've seen his performances here. Bell's ball. The big man knows exactly what to do, and I think one of the highlights for me in this event was his ringing of the bell claim before the...
You mean that? The pre-ring?
That one right there, but he was able to... And then, of course...
bell struck back, didn't it, Peter?
It did.
What happened?
Chipped his tooth, ringing that bell. And you don't ring the bell before you win the event. And so
you got to win it to ring it, and even the bell taught Jordy Smith, hey, you didn't win it yet, and I'm going to take it back at you, but you can see stop number 3, first place finish. He followed it up with a quarterfinal in Brazil. He's just coming off a quarterfinal finish there at home in South Africa. He wants a minimum finish here, and for that to happen, he's got to get through Connor Coffin. During the break, Jordy rode another wave, Peter.
As again, without priority, so he grabs a little inside wave, tucks in. Gonna make sure that he gets a completed ride and kicks out. Enough for a 2.4. You know, Jordy's very well-rounded. You know, the only really true spot that he would obviously have a lot of work on would be those reef breaks. And here he has a chance to get himself into the quarterfinals, which would be really good for him. And conceivably, if he can get through this heat and get himself, you know, right there talking about the Jeep Rankings lead. Look at him.
There he is.
I mean, you look at the points there. Owen Wright already in the quarters. John already in the quarters. But, again, such a slim margin between 1 through 4. And now a golden opportunity with Matt Wilkinson out.
And here are the points you earn per round. Of course, the goal for all these surfers is to get that big 10,000 for taking out an event, but you can take 8,000 for a runner finish. Semifinals, that'll get you 6,500 points.
And you look at the points gap that happens, it gets exceedingly broader as it moves up the rankings.
Coffin stalling, trying to get under the cover, does so, and just battles through that wave, but gets a nice little shack. Follows up by a carve and looking to finish. Really difficult section over shallow reef and goes down.
Watch out.
And he's going to be standing in inches of water right now.
Well, he has his model, the Fred Flintstone, Freddie Rubble. He's got, the reason why that is because he's got those feet. So he can tromp that reef pretty easily, I think. He's been running cars.
He's been running cars. Let's take another look at Connor Coffin.
All right, so he's doing everything he can to slow down, you know, and unfortunately that wave didn't give him a section that really threw out, but I like that turn there and committing to the inside here, but watch out. You can see that little crease in there that's got a little deep spot, but other than that, it is dry. As we look up into the hole from the camera down, all the way down, looking into the barrel. Just swallowed whole at the end. Love the commitment, though.
Oh, he committed and got a 3.9 for that commitment. He remains in second place, but now he just needs a 2.33 to get the lead over Jordy Smith. 10 minutes and 35 seconds remaining. You can see Connor Coffin back on the paddle out. Dad Rich giving him some words of wisdom as he's sitting in the channel.
I love it. That's just straight a big smile and a shaka. Cool? And Dad just, you know, no, he knows what he's doing, right? So he's just giving him confidence that, and a big smile that, hey, I'm here for you emotionally. Also saw Chris Gallagher there working with Jordy Smith.
Julian Wilson suiting up for his heat against Ace Buchan. And we hear our on-site announcer, Cedric, giving the surfers the information. 10 minutes counting down.
Important job, that beach commentary. You know, they have to be very clear with all of the information given to them. Almost limited information. You're not there to, I mean, you've done a lot of beach commentary.
Yeah.
But it's important because it's an advent of professional surfing. I wouldn't say it's relatively new, but the computer scoring. So all that information, it adjusts. You know, you have to get it out there, and it allows the surfers to adjust throughout a heat on what they need to do.
Correct.
And what kind of waves they need to choose.
Correct, yeah. You know, because we're here to inform and entertain and bring you some stories. When you're a beach commentator, you know, your primary role is to give these surfers their time, the situation, the priority, and the number they need to take the lead in the heat. And you can't give them too much information in those categories. You can repeat it over and over again so these guys know exactly what they need to do. Anytime you see a surfer waving their hands, that means they're asking the on-site commentator to repeat that information to them.
Well, especially in like today when you've got all this wind blowing, it can be a little bit of a challenge to hear.
Wave moving through here. Jordy Smith with priority. Jordy looking down the line. And he's going to go to turns. Stabs it through the lip. Backhand Rio. Off the bottom again. Carves off the top. And floats on the backhand. Very difficult and kicks out complete. So he attacked that wave, Peter.
Absolutely no barrel on it, but I like what he did. Sizable set wave and 3 solid turns. Combination of major moves. The criteria kind of has to shift a little bit with the conditions changing like this. be interesting to see where the score goes, because the surfing he did on here was really nice, especially that section there. It was a vertical section, tags it perfectly. Again, nice and powerful, that snap, and committing to the inside with the big float, and gets out of there clean. So nice packaged wave. Once again, looking at it into the water here, into this section. See how steep it was? He attacks it. And there flattens out, but the big arc into it, and there the float over the dry reef.
Chris Gallagher, his coach, on the paddle back out with Jordy Smith, giving him some information. As you can see, the results for 2017 from Jordy Smith. I'm sorry, no, this is the career at this location. Best finish has been a 9th place finish throughout the years.
And you know, that's factual information that he has not been able to get past this round at this event. So it says something about, you know, having to, you know, build that confidence at a place like this. So anytime he gets past this round, it's going to be a great result for him. I mean, he's got the ability, just getting past that hurdle.
And a 6.93 awarded to Jordy for that last wave. So it seems like the judges, recognizing that the conditions are changing, rewarded Jordy for that high-risk surfing, performance surfing, especially that backhand floater at the end. That's something we don't talk about, how dangerous that is, because if things were to go wrong on that backhand floater, Jordy would have been tossed face first into the reef.
Well, that, you've got the board, the wind under your feet. There's so many things that could happen that, you know, again, I mean, Sean Thompson was, you know, alluded to it at our last event at J-Bay, you know, about how that floater could be so dangerous. But yeah, you're carrying a lot of speed and you're dropping, you know, sometimes 6 feet onto the flats. But I think one thing that's kind of happened before this heat really got underway is that the adjustment could be said that it was made before the heat started. It's really tough when the conditions change within the heat to really start, because you're trying to compare something that, you know, the conditions should have changed. Right now, it's kind of been the similar kind of roughed edges here, so turns would definitely come into play. I love that Jordy, seems like to me, he made that decision right from the takeoff that it was going to be about turns. He never was kind of looking for the barrel at all, and that really helped him to kind of really lay into the maneuvers.
Thinking on the fly right there, making the adjustments on the fly. Waves moving through here. Connor Coffin in the red jersey does have priority. We'll see if he chooses to take it. Both surfers a bit out of position there as the wave rolls through.
You know, and Connor would hear that score go down and go, okay.
He's going to adjust.
He paid attention to what was happening there. Oh, a set wave that maybe doesn't look like it has a barrel on it. Maybe I do go make that move, considering we're on the clock here, about to get to that 5-minute warning.
Peter, talk us through this heat recap.
Well, really, 3 waves to talk about. This little one on the inside here for the start of Jordy Smith. Great technique. Again, going to maneuvers, gets himself a 3.83. You know, judges taking note that it wasn't a major set wave. And then Connor Coffin doing everything he can to try and stall for that barrel. Pretty much matched the score of Jordy Smith. Then Jordy Smith with priority gets this wave here, and it's a set wave and goes straight to turns. Earns the 6.93 priority now with Connor Coffin. So Connor can look for a wave like this. He's got and try and match the maneuvers of Jordy Smith.
Back to live action, and all the numbers in the corner of your screen. Highlighted in green are the top 2 waves for each surfers. Connor Coffin taking a look at this wave. And he's going to take off and pull into a barrel, traveling through second section for Coffin. He comes through that section. Nice carve off the top. It snaps one more time on the backhand. Kicking out and making a motion. I don't know if that was like he was happy with his performance there or a signal. Needs a 6.87. What do you think, Peter?
I like this wave. Again, he is able to get the barrel, which I think is a commodity here at Chopo that you need.
Drifting on the takeoff there, losing the fins for a bit. Jordy Smith couldn't find the barrel. Now he's going to get relegated to turns and catches a little bit of a rail on the bottom turn there. So Jordy's going to be on his way out.
Where's Connor? Where is this? Is important. It's the last half of the heat here. Who is going to get priority? Because it's going to be a key moment in this heat.
Yeah, with just 3 minutes and 20 seconds, the race out to the lineup and the takeoff zone to establish priority between Jordy Smith and Connor Coffin.
And Jordy's got that inside position, but you got to understand too that Jordy rode the last wave. So
if they were to tie,
it would go to Connor Coffin, and so that decision is going to have to be made. It's already been done.
Priority to Jordy Smith, and this is an important turn of events as we await still the last wave score for Connor Coffin to see if he turned the heat with that last wave, and it looks like he did with a 7.5. Here's a replay of Jordy's last wave.
So Jordy not really able to find the barrel. Pretty good turn, and then realizing at this point, you know what, probably not going to be one of my top two, and get out so I can get priority, which worked for him. I mean, it almost had that little stumble. His fins kind of slid, which would have delayed that paddle out right there. So he didn't have that nice clean paddle.
And Jordy Smith popped into a barrel. We'll catch up with the beginning of that wave. And just a little bit caught in the foam at the end. Just going to keep on surfing, knowing that he needs a 4.48. Last wave of Connor Coffin was a 7.5. Coffin took the lead. 4.48 is the requirement on that wave just surf. Let's look at the beginning.
So Jordy finding the barrel. Not the cleanest of exits. Although you'd say that that was probably one of the bigger waves comparatively to a 3.9 to a 3.83. You kind of have to throw those comparisons out there.
Here's a look at Connor 7.5.
Yeah, and Connor definitely, I think a lot of the points came here too. Look at how much speed he carried through that carve, good rhythm, and then straight back into another maneuver. So I like the maneuvers he did on that to add to the barrel. Good technique once you know, again, stalling this angle here, but look at that, just beautiful.
So we know that's a 7.5. The question is, what was the score on last of Jordy Smith? A 5-point ride's enough to put Smith in the lead. Now the pressure is on Connor Coffin. Connor has priority. Coffin, red jersey, needs a 4.43. He's hearing the news from our on-site commentator. So now it's all the ocean for Connor Coffin.
Crazy stuff, and that was that paddle battle. It really was, you look at that, that was Jordy Smith able to get himself into position with the priority, had the choice of the wave, and got the score needed.
Under a minute, tense times for Coffin.
I mean, these guys have been battling it out in J-Bay, and here they are at Chopo. They've been having great man-on-man heats.
Yeah, it hasn't. Neither of them have been dominant over each other, so it's been a really good matchup between these two. But it looks like Jordy Smith's going to come out ahead once again. We're down to 20 seconds, and not a lot of wave action looking like it's going to happen.
Well, 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 what a heat. And of course, those last 5 minutes, once again, determining the winner.
7, 6, 5,
and you can just tell the frustration there of Connor Coffin.
Well, Jordy Smith is on to the quarterfinals, where he will be meeting up against John Florence. The last heat of this round number 5 coming your way. Ace Bucket versus Julian Wilson. I love the shots from high above. Drone action as we get into the final heat of round number 5. It's Adrian Ace Bucket versus Julian Wilson. So we got a past champ out there in Ace Bucket. And we have ratings. World number 8 with Julian Wilson. Let's go. That was an exciting clutch heat for Jordy Smith. He's with Rosie Hodge.
Thank you so much. Well, I think it's the endurance that you pretty much got from the J-Bay event that's really paying off here. It seems like you've learned a lot of lessons throughout the season, and now they're starting to pay off for you, Jordy.
Yeah, I mean, you learn as you go. As you get older, every day you try and learn something new. And yeah, I think I just kind of try to adapt on the fly out there. There weren't too many barrels on offer, to be honest, and we had a restart in the beginning of our heat. I don't know, I seem to be getting kind of bad luck with Connor in the heats. But yeah, then fortunate enough, you know, we had a bunch of rain come down and made the choppy seas. So I just was like, oh, I better start doing some turns just to get anything on the board. And so I did that, got a 6. And then luckily, you know, he got a good wave, I think he got a 7.5 or something. And you know, I just kind of spun around the very next wave as I paddled back out and went, and I only needed a 4, but I got a 5, and I was really thankful for that. It was lucky, but it was grindy.
What about that paddle battle out? I mean, just you got lengths on him throughout that, and that was the turning point of the heat. Getting that priority was so crucial.
Absolutely. I'll paddle till the death till these things fall off. I don't care. And even if they're going to give it to them, I'll still give it my everything. But yeah, I think those are the small little bits and pieces that make a difference, you know. So yeah, stoked that all the crumbs make a loaf of bread.
And what about a quarterfinal matchup with John? That's got to be a challenge, but also something that you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, a definite challenge. He's the best guy out here, so if you want to win, you got to beat the best guy. And just got to go out there and try and pick my waves. That's about it.
Jordy, all the best. You're looking so focused. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Rosie. Congratulations, Jordy Smith. A couple of nice sound bites right there. Paddle to death, and all the crumbs.
Until these little wings fall off.
And all the crumbs make a loaf of bread.
Yes.
Wow. Here we go. Just a fractional score. So far, Ace Bucket, we saw him get an up and out for a 0.4. Priority now shifts to Julian Wilson.
Well, you see what kind of adjustments here will be made. I would say if we go to turns, you would say that Julian probably has a bit of the variety, but I mean, Ace is definitely capable. But I think Ace is going to try and find and sniff out any barrels.
Well, Ace has been extremely successful at this venue. He won it in 2013. Just last year, he was runner-up. Last year he was a semifinalist, losing to Kelly Slater, who eventually won this event. Here we go with Ace Bucket. Better looking wave this time. And Ace hacks off the top, a little hung up, and gets eaten up. So maybe the wind coming into play on that particular maneuver. What do you think, Peter?
A little bit. I think he wanted to push it.
Julian in the barrel, stalling, gets behind the curtain for a length of time, squares off the bottom, hooks off the top. Around this section again, Vert on his closing maneuver. So best wave so far in this heat is going to go to Julian Wilson. He's going to have the advantage.
Yeah, looking at Ace, he really knew that he needed to push the maneuvers. So he went for a little extra there, and with that, got hung up in the wind and goes down for a 1.0. Julian Wilson, on the other hand, was able to find that all-magical barrel. Smaller wave, so it'll affect the score slightly, but I love the maneuvers again on the outside. He's so good on that back end. Again, great technique, finding the barrel, stalling it out, disappearing from view, and again, that's the maneuvers. He is so smooth. Great bottom turn, top turn combinations. Again, just all the way across the board, he had great technique from the tube riding skills to the maneuvers. And that's the type of surfing that we expect from Julian Wilson. And we've seen from him, you know, but the results haven't truly came. As we watch again, the pushing it, you know, you see he laid in that maneuver. The commitment to the maneuver is what Ace was trying to achieve there. And sometimes when you do that, you know, a little higher risk, you know, unfortunately you get the higher reward, but sometimes you go down.
Well, Julian Wilson, he had a quarterfinal finish last year as well as in 2013. If you recall last year, Peter, Julian was just a warrior out here, just getting thrown across the reef, cut his chin open, all kinds of reef cuts, and still kept out swinging. So that's one of the dangers, but you know, Julian's got a big heart and is quite a competitor.
He is, you know, and the skills on the back end to back it. You know, you'd expect him to do really well here in Tahiti, but really only made it to the quarterfinals 2 times in 2013 and then again last year. So that kind of has been a little bit of an Achilles for him to get past that quarterfinals.
Let's take a look at Julian's performance in round 3. So this is heat 9, round number 3, where Julian took the win.
Yeah, and this was just yesterday, and conditions obviously a bit nicer with the sunshine out. But again, you can see the skills that Julian carries in that backhand tube riding. He's got great technique to see exactly how you need to do it, the slow down, knows how to speed up, good speed control on that backhand. And it's so essential. It's one of the advantages of being a good backhand barrel rider, is to be able to have that speed control.
Yeah, excellent scoreline in that heat, 17.46. He was only up by John Florence in that round for a higher heat total. As we go to live action, and Ace Buchan stroking into this one. He's going to seek the barrel, find it. Now can he find an exit? And he does. Winds up off the bottom, carves off the top, fins go free, and Ace goes down. So barrel ride, but incomplete finishing maneuver. Julian Wilson doing that hip drag stall. He's under the curtain. Nice control of speed in the barrel. And Julian is now going to get a couple turns in before he kicks out over some very shallow reef and continues to paddle back out. So nice exchange. Again, the advantage to Julian Wilson.
Yeah, you would say so. I mean, Ace feels like he's a pretty antsy. You know, he's fired up. Good tube ride for him, but when he looked, he saw off the bottom there, he was antsy. It just felt antsy. And of course, we'll take a look first at the technique from Julian Wilson. You see how hard he was trying to slow down there, just to maximize that tube time again, and not able to really fit in that second maneuver after the carve. So this will probably be less than his first wave, but again, needs 2. So 2 completed rides for Julian. He'll most likely stay out front. We'll take a look at Ace here on this replay. So again, moving in. Love the barrel though. You know, I think that he was pretty deep. But right here, he's just wanting to unload on this section here. But again, getting a bit loose on the top. Let's see how he disappears, even looking into it. So I feel like this barrel here is going to be a little better, just unfortunate for the maneuver at the end. So that would be the difference in this 2 waves between Julian and Ace in that exchange.
Well, we got the score in for last of Ace Buchan of 5.1. We're still standing by for last of Julian Wilson. Let's see what the take was from the channel with Strider Walzalewski.
Well, I feel like, you know, honestly, Julian's just got a better rhythm with the right wave. It seems to have been happening all day, where whoever finds that rhythm with the right waves is going to, you know, find their way through these heats. But that said, Ace could just clean it right up at the end of this heat and come back around the corner. These two guys love to win. I just love the contrast of the, you know, forehand and backhand styles out here. And I on a day like today, I would give the forehand, you know, tube time a little bit of a benefit, because you can kind of gauge that inside line and kind of thread a little deeper and come out with a little more force. But right now, Julian getting the better wave and then having the upper hand.
Thanks, Strider. You're right. Julian does have the upper hand. He just clocked in a 5.03. Add that to his 6.17. He is in the lead over Ace Buchan. Ace in the red jersey looking for a 6.11. Ace does have priority and plenty of time on the clock. 18 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, and we've seen the conditions flip on a dime pretty quickly too, so that could kind of happen as well. I was just thinking to ask Strider about the vibe in the channel, but here's a great view of it. You know, the weather not the best out there, but you've still got the crowd here to watch. I mean, one of the best venues to get out in that channel, tie up, and watch the action. I mean, literally 25 to 30 feet away.
the flotilla, if you will, media, spectators, and a lot of our competitors with boats out in the channel. As we look to Julian Wilson, he's currently number 8 on the Jeep leaderboard. He wants to jump up that Jeep leaderboard. And here we have a look at the rankings. Right ahead of Gabriel Medina, Owen Wright, Jordy Smith, John Florence still in the competition. So Julian's going to certainly want to get into those quarterfinals to keep up with the rest of the crew.
Well, and you look again, like where the numbers are, like 23-2 for Julian. If he gets into that quarterfinals, he's going to be adding, 5,000 points, and you could see pretty much will overtake, even with the results that we saw for Adriano, which I think is the 13th, as well as Joel, 1750. So they're not going to be adding too many points, whereas Julian and Gabriel have the opportunity to move up very much, a lot.
Looking at Ace Buchan's place on the Jeep leaderboard, 18th place right now, and looking to move past Connor Coffin, Kyle Belly, Sebastian Zietz, all of the lightened squares showing all the surfers out of competition. The dark blue rectangles, Kolohe Andino and Ace Buchan still in competition here. Well,
Kolohe already into the quarterfinals, so that's going to be a great result for him. See, maybe get back into that top 10. Start of the back half of the year for good seeding. Now the seeding is going to be running off current rankings as you go into each event. And then, of course, the benefit for Kolohe is next event, he's sleeping in his own bed and going to a wave that he knows so well at lower trestles.
Yeah, Kolohe Andino, his home spot's going to be featured for event number 8 on the Men's Championship Tour over there at lower trestles. Julian Wilson, if he gets through this heat into the quarterfinals and gets some, gain some ground on that Jeep leaderboard, Peter, I think he's going to be a real danger over at lowers. Here we go, though. He's got to get through this guy. Ace Buchan stalling for the barrel behind the curtain, comes out of the barrel and kicks out quickly, looking for a 6.11 to take the lead from Julian Wilson.
Well, Adrian would have been a little disappointed that he wasn't further up the reef for that one. That one had the barrel on the outside section, so he had to literally airdrop into it and then wasn't able to get very deep. So a bit of a missed opportunity, I feel like. And you see, if he had been a little further back, that barrel was outside. And so he never really got completely tubed and disappeared from view just on that end section.
Water angle.
Well, now that kind of is a little more of a telltale sign. So, yeah, they didn't miss out too much on that section outside. Just didn't have the tail. You want to have that little elbow tail come in and bend at you.
2.6. So, yeah, he's going to have to continue to work at it. Still needing a 6.11 to get over on Julian Wilson, who's our heat leader. And now we're halfway through the heat, the 15-minute mark.
Well, again, not really truly able to capitalize on the priority for Ace. Julian with the lead now and some time, can be a bit more patient. He already has mid-range scores, one in the good range, one in the fair. But, Ace isn't out of this either. There's a lot can happen like we watched in that last heat. It comes down to that last 5 minutes, and it can be crazy stuff.
When we come back, we will have the conclusion of this final heat, round number 5, here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti. And looking back to the Billabong Pro Tahiti 2013, where Adrian Ace Buchan was able to take a win over Kelly Slater here, and just showing that razor sharp tube riding technique by Ace Buchan. Big victory over Kelly Slater 2013.
Well, and Kelly and Ace in this final, each riding only 2 waves apiece. Adrian Buchan had the 967 and the 927 right back to back. Kelly started off this heat with the 910 and then was able to get an 8.8 at the end, but it wasn't enough. So an exciting final there, just 4 waves ridden between these 2 surfers. And it looked like Kelly was going to win another one, but nope. Ace says, I got this. A 967 and a 927. So what a 2-wave total.
Happy dance and a career highlight for Ace Buchan in 2013. Ace now in the water with 12 minutes and 15 seconds on the countdown. He needs a 6.11 because he's trailing Julian Wilson.
Well, his strategy to sit underneath a little bit further down the reef, as Julian will hold court right there underneath the buoy. Pretty good lineup just to know that that's there. Makes things a little easier.
As we look at the career results for Ace Buchan at this location, like we said, semifinal finish last year, getting defeated by eventual winner Kelly Slater. So pretty good track record overall, a bunch of 5ths and first semifinal finish.
He's never lost in the first round, really. I mean, even if you look back to the years that we had 44 on tour, he's been able to get into round 3. So that's pretty darn consistent.
Coming up next, we're going to roll into quarterfinal action. Quarterfinal number 1 is going to feature Big O, Owen Wright, coming up against Gabriel Medina. So that is quite a matchup. Of course, Medina taking a win out here in 2014 on his way to his world title. And we go back to live action with a false start by Ace Buchan. Julian Wilson, decision time. Is he going to utilize his priority? Yes. Squares off the bottom. Vert off the top there. Comes off the bottom again. A nice carve on the backhand. Delayed bottom turn, another snap. And just going to work his way through this inside section as we lose water.
He is not scared of the reef.
Finishes off again on the shelf.
That is crazy. It really is. I mean, you're guaranteed you're going to get a bump or 2 on the reef.
Looking to Ace, quick up and out. He's going to maintain his position at the takeoff zone.
Talk about commitment. You have to be pretty darn committed to guaranteed fillets of the maybe knees, arms, hands, feet. Look at him, and he's just rock dancing now. And so at this point, he's pretty much on top of the reef. It's going to be hard to get himself back out into the lineup.
He's got to do an equipment check, fin check right now. Walking over the reef, no doubt. He's getting some cuts on his feet right now. Describe how sharp that reef is.
Yeah, there's some soft spots on this reef too. There is a, you know, when we saw all that weed in the water yesterday, there's these little like pine cone things that sit on top of the reef. A lot of it's covered with that, so it's a little softer. And you knew that he was just going to go straight to the ski and get himself back around. I mean, if you look right now, we're looking at probably been 10 seconds since he's jumped off the end of the reef and trampled across, and how quickly he gets back out there. I mean, Thierry Dominique, another surfer from this area, amazing driver. He's been helping out with the Tahitian Water Patrol, and you get up on a plane, he's going over 6 inches of water here and there. There's landmines everywhere in there, so he's got to make a good move. That doesn't look like actually Thierry, but either way, it's another accomplished wave runner rider. I love this wave from Julian. You know, he committed to turns right out, knew it wasn't going to barrel, so decided to go and try and improve his scoreline by going to maneuvers, and it looks like he has. I mean, talk about commitment to the final end of that wave.
Here's the water view, Peter.
Beautiful first turn. I mean, and that's where you see a surfer commit to a very vertical section. I mean, in this wave, you know, you don't see a lot of maneuvers because it is so powerful and such a vertical face that it's hard to get maneuvers done.
Buchan in the barrel, comes through a foam ball section, and kicks out. So well-ridden wave by Ace Buchan, but that commitment by Julian Wilson to those maneuvers as we see him getting shuttled back out with the jet ski. He got an 8.07, so up into the excellent range. Now Ace Buchan is chasing a 9.14. We're still waiting on the last score for Ace for this wave.
Well, again, if he betters the 5.1, which is his highest score, he's going to help his cause to tighten the gap against Julian. Watching it here, I mean, he did get fairly barreled. Again, coming out of that one pretty clean, but no maneuvers. Just the quick barrel and out. So if that improves on the 5.10, he'll lessen the necessary wave score needed to catch Julian Wilson.
And that early kick out is also going to give Ace priority. So he's given himself a chance. He needs to improve to lessen that deficit that he has, and he does so with a 5.5. So now red, Ace Buchan needs an 8.74. It would be the highest single wave score of this heat, but he does have priority, and he does have 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Well, and see Julian now coming back into frame. Minute to get back to the channel, and then another probably 35 to 40 seconds. And so, I mean, I think that commitment paid off. In my eyes, you know, you give up the time, give up the priority, but he added probably a point to that score.
By going for it on the inside.
By going for it, and, you know, and working every ounce of scoring potential out of that wave. And, you know, it looks like he even hit fins. So
he's still checking his fins and his equipment. Yeah, no doubt he dragged those fins across the reef at the end of that ride.
You know, at this level, at this point in the event, you start to make
any kind of sacrifice, right? Skin,
higher
fins,
risk moves.
Boards, it doesn't even matter.
Well, he's got backup boards. Your hands and knees do heal.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just need to look to last year. Julian, he made it to the quarterfinals here, but if you recall, he went face first into the reef, cut open his chin. He had all kinds of scrapes up and down his arms. He's not afraid to commit to that final section.
No, not at all. You know, and that's his commitment to competition and winning.
And here we look at the career results here at Chopo. Quarterfinal in 2013 and the quarterfinal just last year for Julian Wilson. He wants to do one better than that, but first he needs to get into the quarterfinal and get past Ace Buchan. 5:35.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is that time that we see a lot of action happen in these last few heats. You know, you can't count Ace out. I mean, an 8.74. There's those hero waves come here, and they could come at any moment. You know, and if you're not in combo, you've got a chance. I mean, there's 10s in every heat if they come. The potential for 10s in every heat.
Gabe Medina and Owen Wright coming up in quarterfinal number 1. We're going to roll straight into that. And potential to take that yellow Jeep Leaders jersey is on the line in quarterfinal number 1 with Owen Wright right there in the top 4.
Yeah, well, he's one of the first one to go. We already have all of the top 4 contenders into the quarterfinals. I'm sorry, 3. Because we lost Matt Wilkinson. So you have Jordy, Owen, and John.
Yep.
And again, you know, whoever kind of finishes
higher
furthest out is going to be wearing that jersey.
Let's take a look at our heat recap.
Julian Wilson was able to hunt the barrel on the very first exchange, gets himself to 6.17. That's his backup score. Ace Buchan's been fighting. I'll tell you, he's been giving it his all. He's able to get a 5.10. Again, finding those hollow ones on the outside section. I think the only real true drawback is those 2 falls at the end of his waves, but going to maneuvers and going into the excellent range for Julian Wilson. And talk about commitment. He is not going to give up any ounce of scoring potential. He's going to ride right up onto dry reef. Here's Ace. Once again, getting the barrel quickly in and out, but no maneuvers done. So just a 5.5 for that. Again, needing an 8.74 as he's searching his feet for a couple fillets.
I like how you're playing off the pine cones. It's sharp in there.
I know. I'm well underneath. Yeah, I mean, it does have this kind of little furry stuff here and there. There's a lot of points in it where there's none of those things. You know, the waves rip them off.
Tense times for Ace Buchan. Good news, he does have priority. He needs 8.74. That's an excellent score. That would be one of the biggest scores that we've seen today as well. So,
how unique is this venue? You know, you look up the reef there and you see how torn up it is, and then all of a sudden it turns the corner,
right, and
it gets a heck of a lot smoother.
Why does that happen, Peter?
Well, it's a turn in the coast is what it is. And it turns into the wind. It literally spins itself good 100 degrees. So it's very unique to this region. I mean, it's exposed to the swell, and then the trade winds, you know, turn to an offshore direction. I mean, not the optimum direction for wind, but still definitely contestable. You know, this is the wind that we're going to start seeing come in the forecast for the days in the future, but a heck of a lot stronger. You know, another 10 to 15 miles per hour is supposed to be forecast for the next few days. You know, you start having 4-foot waves coming cross through, you know, any swell you have, makes things a lot harder.
As we can see, getting ready for quarterfinal number 1. This is going to be a hotly contested heat, and right now in the water, as we're under the 2-minute mark, Julian Wilson just getting into some personal space on Ace Buchan. Sitting right
Adrian.
next to him.
Yeah, hi, Adrian. You know, they are good friends, but again, they're not having a chat right now. You see, that's great. It's almost like two people having an argument. They're just like back to each other.
Not looking at each other's way, but Wilson really letting his presence be known.
Oh, yeah, you feel the vibration. No, you feel the vibration. You know he's there. But Ace does have priority, so he knows this. He's been in these situations before. At this point, he's doing everything he can to will a wave his way.
Already entering the lineup, Gabe Medina. And, you know, Gabe already showing. This is just a forecast for quarterfinal number 1. Gabe already paddling up the reef to take the inside position. You can see Owen Wright trailing as we're under a minute, and things are starting to look dark for Ace Buchan. And bright for Julian Wilson to make it into the quarterfinals.
Another quarterfinal in his career. Let's see if he can find his way out. Going to be up against, who's he got?
Ace will be coming up against Joan Duru.
That's right.
I mean, not Ace, I'm sorry, Julian, because he's the heat leader right now. He's going to be coming up against the rookie, Joan Duru.
Quietly getting through those heats, Joan.
Silent assassin, smiley assassin, right? Friendly guy. You know, he had a quarterfinal in Cloudbreak, and he finds himself a quarterfinal again. Here's going to be the last attempt for Ace Buchan. Good looking wave in the barrel. Skondomos on the smaller side and unable to come out of that, so that's going to seal his fate. And the 9th place finish for Adrian Ace Buchan. Julian Wilson, however, on to quarterfinal number 4. And a relieved Julian Wilson. And he's going to prep up for his matchup against Joan Duru in that quarterfinal number 4.
Now the high fives happen. And of course, with that, Julian Wilson will have an opportunity to get to his first semifinal.
And we're going to get into the quarterfinals. Owen Wright versus Gabe Medina coming up. We're bringing in Joel Trappell and Martin Potter for the call.